When a millionaire hears a boy's cry, my mom's inside. The devastating truth at midnight. The clock chimed midnight. In the darkened streets of Silver Ridge, shadows danced under flickering street lamps. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the silence, shattering the quiet like glass. My mom's inside. A young boy's voice pierced the night air, heavy with desperation. The million-dollar mansion loomed behind him, its towering walls cloaked in mystery, but what lay within? The millionaire who owned the house was known for his obsession with privacy, always hiding behind curtains, never letting the world see what happened within his gilded cage. As the boy trembled on the sidewalk, eyes wide and wild, he was a picture of panic. His small frame shook, and tears streaked his dirty cheeks. He glanced back at the looming house, its windows reflecting 1,000 untold secrets. A chilling wind blew, sending leaves swirling, whispering warnings of the horrors that may lay inside. What could possibly be happening behind those doors? The neighbors peeked out from their cozy homes, their brows furrowed in concern. What happened? Is anyone hurt? The murmur spread like wildfire, igniting fear in the hearts of everyone nearby. Suddenly, a faint glow flickered from within the mansion, casting eerie shadows that danced like ghosts on the walls. People gasped, their collective breath hitching. What was going on in there? A crash echoed from inside, sending the boy recoiling against the pavement. We have to help her. He cried, but his voice was barely a whisper now, as if the weight of fear had stolen his strength. The ever-watchful town had never seen a scene like this, a child crying out while a secretive millionaire stood by, silenced by the mystery swirling around him. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The boy started shaking again, his voice quivering. Please. You don't understand. She needs help. Just then, a figure appeared in the doorway, silhouetted against the ominous light inside. The crowd gasped collectively. Who was this person? Fear clenched tight in everyone's chests as they swapped nervous glances, unsure of what to expect next. The boy's small hand reached out toward the figure with both hope and dread. Mom. The figure hesitated, and for just a moment, the world held its breath, caught between suspense and reality. What was the truth that lay hidden in that mansion? And more importantly, what was the boy about to discover? The figure stepped further into the light, revealing a woman whose face was obscured by shadows. Her body shook as if she were struggling against an unseen force, hands trembling at her sides. The boy's heart raced. Mom! He shouted again, desperation clawing at his throat. But instead of rushing to him, she turned her back to the crowd, retreating deeper into the darkness of the mansion. Did you see that? Someone whispered in disbelief. What's happening inside? The crowd murmured, tension thickening the night air. That soft glow from the mansion flickered ominously, a candle in a storm, illuminating fleeting glimpses of chaos. Another crash sounded, and the front door slammed shut, the noise echoing in the silence. The boy felt a hollow pit open in his stomach. Stay here. Came a firm voice from a man in a dark coat who stepped forward, a determined look on his face. It was Mr. Taylor, the town's sheriff, known for his no-nonsense approach. He raised a hand, signaling for the others to remain back. I'll check it out. His calm demeanor offered little comfort, yet it was better than the rising tide of panic flooding the street. The boy shook his head violently. No. I have to go. My mom needs me. His small fists clenched. He let her disappear into that darkness. But the sheriff's stern gaze pinned him in place. You're not going in there, kid. I'll handle this. Trust me. A flicker of anger ignited in the boy, but the desperation kept him rooted. Every second felt like an hour. He watched the sheriff approach the front door, taking a slow, measured breath before pushing it open. It groaned in protest, creaking like the bones of an ancient giant. Inside, the mansion loomed with eerie grandeur. Shadows danced along the walls, responding to an inner chaos that the onlookers could only imagine. The sheriff stepped inside, and just like that, he vanished into the darkness. The boy felt alone, isolated as the whispers and murmurs of the crowd echoed around him, underscoring this moment of dread. Then came the sound. A shriek erupted from deep within the mansion, raw and full of agony. The boy's heart stopped. That was his mother's voice. A mixture of fear and adrenaline surged through him, and before anyone could react, he dashed past the sheriff's laid-out command, racing into the mansion that he stumbled over the threshold, eyes wide, blood pounding in his ears. The inside was disorienting, a maze of opulence turned sinister. The walls appeared to close in around him, the air thick with dread. "Mom!" He screamed again, his voice piercing the quiet, demanding a response. Suddenly, a door swung open down the hallway, spilling light into the dark corridor like a beacon. He felt a pull towards it, a desperate yearning for safety and familiarity. But as he sprinted toward that light, the air crackled with tension, and he couldn't shake the feeling that not everything was as it seemed. Just as the boy reached the threshold, his foot caught the edge of an ornate rug, and he stumbled, crashing to the floor. He barely had time to catch his breath when the shadows seemed to grow thick and alive around him, and a voice whispered in his ear, smooth like silk but icy like winter's breath. You shouldn't have come here. What horrors awaited him beyond that whisper? The boy's heart raced as the whisper slithered into his ear, sending shivers down his spine. He sprang back to his feet, the urge to flee battling against the desperate call for his mother. The flickering light from the open door beckoned, yet the shadows coiled like dark tendrils, wrapping around his ankles, urging him to stay. "Mom!" He shouted again, louder this time, his voice wavering with a mix of fear and hope. Silence answered him, thickening the air like fog. The shadows pulsed, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him from the darkness, waiting. Hungry that he pressed on, forcing his way into the lighted room with every ounce of determination he could muster. As he crossed the threshold, the warm glow illuminated a scene that sent chills through his body. The room was lavishly decorated, but chaos reigned, furniture was overturned, lamps shattered, and the air was thick with the scent of burnt wood and something metallic, almost sickly. A figure lay on the floor. The boy's breath hitched in his throat as he rushed forward, recognizing the familiar figure lying motionless beneath an ornate chandelier. "Mom!" he cried, kneeling beside her. But it wasn't her. The face, though covered in shadows, was wrong, lost in anguish. Panic clawed at the edges of his sanity. "What happened? Where are you?" he pleaded, shaking her gently. "Get out," she murmured, her voice weak and trembling. "You shouldn't have come, Mom, please. I can help you. Just tell me what to do." He felt tears pricking at the corners of his eyes. They were warm against his cheeks but chilled by the horror surrounding him. The shadows deepened around him, swirling like a storm grown out of control. A cold gust swept through the room, extinguishing the light. Every heart-pounding beat echoed in the silence, and the boy felt a creeping dread settle in his chest. "Leave before it's too late," her words faded, turning to whispers as if the darkness was swallowing her voice piece by piece. The walls seemed to bow inwards, the room contracting like a vice. A sudden crash tore through the silence, followed by the sound of footsteps, heavy, lumbering, menacing. The boy flinched, turning wildly towards the door, the way he had come. "Mom!" That one word released a flood of emotion, his voice raw and desperate as he sprinted back, but the door slammed shut before he could reach it. Timber splintered, and a cruel laughter reverberated through the chamber. "Did you really think you could just walk in?" A malevolent voice boomed from the void, slithering over his skin like ice. "This is my domain." A sense of betrayal washed over him. The boy whipped around, searching for the source, heart pounding against his ribs, suffocating him with panic. Shadows shifted, taking shapes, figures that twisted in the dark, the ground shook, and with it, a flicker of fear ignited. "What do you want?" he shouted, clenching his hands into fists, desperately seeking courage. "Your mother made a choice, little boy. All choices have a price." The walls began to pulse, a rhythmic thumping as if the mansion itself were a living entity, hungry and alive. He didn't want to think of the price. A chilling realization settled over him. Maybe this wasn't just about him. "Get out! Run!" a haunting voice called from the shadows. But where could he run? The very walls were closing in, inching toward him. Then, like a beacon amid the chaos, he spotted a glint of light from the corner of his eye window. Without hesitation, he charged, legs propelling him forward, but the darkness clawed at him, tearing at his clothes, wrapping around his limbs. With one final push, he lunged toward the window, the glass sparkling like stars in the night sky. It was his only chance. As he reached for it, a piercing scream shattered the air, cutting through the madness. It was unmistakably the voice of his mother. "Mom!" he screamed, but the window shattered into shards, and he was thrown back, crashing to the floor as darkness engulfed him. In that moment of impact, something inside him sparked a wild resolve. He would find her, no matter what. But as he lay there, he realized that the darkness wasn't just outside, it lived within as well. The voice echoed again, "You shouldn't have come here." What had he awakened? And what would be left of him if he failed to find out? As shadows danced hungrily close, the boy felt a primal fear grip his heart. What was this place, really? And what if the price was more than he could pay? The boy's head swam with pain. He blinked, trying to regain his bearings, but the air was thick with a suffocating gloom. Each breath tasted stale, laced with fear. He pushed himself up, fists clenched, eyes darting through the darkened space. "Mom!" he called again, the sound barely slicing through the oppressive silence. The laughter from before reverberated again, a low growl that sent hot chills racing down his spine. "You think you can still save her?" The voice dripped with mockery. He gritted his teeth and took a shaky step forward, the ground seeming to ripple beneath him. "Where are you?" he demanded, desperation coloring his tone. "Where is she?" Silence. Then, the shadows shivered, parting for a heartbeat to reveal a figure, a tall, gaunt silhouette enveloped in darkness. The boy's heart raced faster, it felt as if it could burst. "Choices, choices." The figure's voice twisted around him like smoke. "Your mother chose her fate long ago. Did you think you could undo it?" A flash of memory flickered in the boy's mind, a forgotten conversation, whispers of debts that had to be paid, and promises that bound. "No. I can help her," he shouted, yearning for any vestige of hope, but doubt gnawed at him. Sensing his hesitation, the figure stepped closer, the darkness around it shifting like a living thing. It reached out a long, bony finger, pointing straight at him. "You are as much a part of this as she is. You can either join her or make your own choice." "Shut up." The boy's voice cracked with anger, fear igniting his spirit. "Let her go. She's done nothing wrong." "Ah, but that's where you're mistaken." The entity's grin was almost visible, a malicious glint in the shadows. "Your mother made her pact willingly. And now it's time for you to choose. Do you wish to follow her into darkness, or will you defy her?" "The darkness wants you," a whisper threaded through the chaos, slicing through the noise and reaching into his heart. "Do you want it too?" The boy felt a twisting sensation, a pull deep in his core. It was a seductive call, promising power, safety, but at what cost? He thought of his mother, of her warm embrace, her laughter, of the way she made the dark days bearable. Anguish clawed at him. "I want to let you take her," he cried, a declaration infused with newfound strength. Suddenly, the shadows roared, flooding the room with an unholy energy that crashed into him like a tide. He staggered back, his feet slipping on debris. The voice echoed again, more furious now. Run. Give in. You don't stand a chance. With every ounce of his will, he surged to his feet, stumbling over broken furniture and shattered glass. He forced his way through the darkness, toward the source of the whispers. Mom! I'm coming. He couldn't falter, he wouldn't. The walls throbbed in response, horrified breath surrounding him as he pushed deeper into that living nightmare. In the distance, a soft light began to glow, a glimmer that promised something unnameable. Hope. Or merely a lure. But it was the only thing that beckoned him forward, so he raced toward it, chasing the flicker like a dying flame. Just as he neared the light, a sudden pull knocked him off his feet, dragging him back through the shadows. No! He shouted, panic clawing at his throat. The light vanished, eclipsed by a wall of darkness. He was alone again, the whispers roaring in his ears like a beating drum, a war cry of despair. What must I do? He gasped, dropping to his knees amid the chaos. Everything is for a price, and that s when he realized the shadows were creeping closer, not just wanting him to join, but to consume him whole. In that moment of despair, a single question emerged from his racing thoughts: could his love for his mother be enough to battle them? What if the power of choice could shatter the darkness surrounding them both? But what if it lead to an even darker truth? The boy's heart raced faster, each beat echoing like a war drum in the suffocating void. The shadows towered around him, pulsating with a malevolent hunger, urging him to succumb to the darkness. His breath came in ragged gasps as he skidded on the cold floor, desperately searching for any sign of his mother. Mom! He shouted once more, voice cracking, wavering. He pushed against the creeping shadows, forcing them back with sheer will. But as he did, a revelation flickered in his mind. These weren't just shadows, they were memories, fragments of his mother's laughter, her whispered secrets, her out-of-tune singing after a long day. Each gesture she made had woven a spell of safety around him, and now, they felt like chains dragging him down. The figure loomed closer, eyes glinting with wicked delight. You resist, but you cannot escape what is inevitable, it hissed. Your mother belongs to them now, and soon you will too. Never. The word burst forth like a shield, fortifying his resolve. He thought of the moments they shared, the warmth of her hugs, the dreams she spun for him. They weren't just memories, they were a lifeline, tethering him to hope. He straightened, anger cutting through the paralyzing dread. Is that what you think? The figure mocked, its voice twisting into a cacophony of laughter. What can a boy like you do against the darkness? You are weak. Alone. He shook his head, gritting his teeth. I'm not alone. I have her. He felt it, the flicker inside him reigniting. The shadows recoiled at his declaration, hesitating. Did they fear his spirit? Suddenly, a thundering crash echoed in the distance, shaking the ground beneath him. It rattled the walls, sending shards of darkness scattering like frightened insects. The boy's breath caught. Could it be? Was there someone else out there? Someone who could help? Please. His voice broke through the surrounding chaos, reaching beyond the void. I need someone. Anyone. The shadows shrank back, the malevolent figure momentarily distracted. Foolish child, it sneered. No one is coming for you or her. You'll regret this. But a glimmer of light began to bloom around the edges of the darkness, pushing through with renewed vigor. The boy's heart leaped. Was it the same light? The one he had chased before? Follow it. A voice cried, a muffled, distant plea, but it sounded like hope itself. With new energy coursing through him, he lunged toward the light, feeling the ground quake beneath his feet as he plunged deeper into the haze. As he neared the edges, the shadows clawed at him, ripping at his clothes and skin, their whispers growing frantic. You can't escape. They hissed in unison, their voices weaving a tapestry of fear that wrapped around his mind. Join us. I want tea. He roared, forcing his way through. Not now, not ever. With one final thrust, he broke free from the clutches of darkness, tumbling into the glow. Light enveloped him, pulling him upward, lifting him away from despair. But as he looked around, a bone-chilling realization hit him: the light wasn't what he thought. It revealed a room he recognized, yet its essence felt twisted. There, lying in shadows still, was a figure he feared to approach. It was familiar yet foreign, his mother, but so changed, so lost. No. He cried, scrambling toward her. "Mom!" But even as he did, the shadows loomed behind him, growing stronger, feeding on his anguish. A thought nagged at him like a hungry creature: he couldn't just save her, he needed to break the bond that tied her to this darkness. "Do I have the strength?" he whispered to himself, heart twisting. Before he could answer, the figure's eyes fluttered open with a glint of recognition, a flicker of the woman he knew. But was it enough? "Help me," she murmured, and the boy felt the weight of her despair sink into his bones. He was torn between the two forces battling for their souls, the love he had for his mother and the darkness that craved to drag them both under. What cost would he pay to fight for her? The shadows surged forward, a tidal wave of despair, shattering his resolve. "Make your choice," they screamed, each word a dagger in his heart. But what choice would he make when the price could shatter both their worlds? It was time to decide, and he'd have to do it fast. The boy's heart pounded in his chest, teetering on the edge of despair. The shadows crept closer, curling around his ankles like sinister fingers. "Mom!" he called again, desperation cracking his voice. The figure's eyes glimmered with malice. "What will you offer to save her?" it taunted, weaving through the shadows that danced eagerly behind it, poised to strike. "Your fear. Your pain. They are delicious, child." His mind raced, scrambling for a plan, but there was nothing but confusion. "I will not give you anything," he shouted defiantly. Each word felt like a lifeline thrown into the churning sea of darkness surrounding him. "You can't have her." But the shadows hissed back, their voices a chorus weaving through his thoughts. "She is ours. You cannot fight what you do not understand." A chill swept through him. Panic surged as he glanced back at his mother. Her body lay motionless, shrouded in darkness that devoured the light. He couldn't seem to reconcile the warmth he once felt when she held him with the cold emptiness before him. This was not the woman he remembered. "Mom!" he stumbled toward her, drawn by an invisible thread of love despite the fear clawing at his heart. "Please, I'm here. Help me." The whisper was barely audible, yet it sent a jolt through him, igniting a spark of anger. Who were these shadows to claim her? She was his mother, the one who had always fought for him. Suddenly, the room shook again, a violent tremor that sent the shadows scattering, if only for a heartbeat. Then silence fell, thick and suffocating. The boy's breath hitched as he spotted a glimmer in his mother's eye. Was it hope? Or was it a fading ember, quickly extinguished by the encroaching dark? "Fight them, Mom!" he cried, as if his words could reach the person buried within the darkness. But her eyes, once bright, were dull and vacant. "Join us," she murmured, and the boy's heart sank. The shadows swirled, tightening around both of them. "See? She is ready to embrace the shadows. Why should you resist? You could become one of us." "No!" he shouted, his voice raging against the thick air. "I want to listen to you." He felt as if the very essence of his being was pulling apart at their demands. In a moment of fierce clarity, he remembered the laughter, the stories, the warmth of her touch, all those moments woven into his very soul. "You can't have her. I want to let you." This time, his voice carried more weight, bolstering his courage. "Then prove it," the figure hissed, looming closer. "Make the sacrifice, boy. Will you give up your freedom to set her free, or will you remain here, trapped in her fate?" A chill rushed through him as he grasped the implications. He had been foolish to think he could save her without consequence. The shadows could take him too. But he tore the thought away. "I'd rather be trapped than let darkness win." Determination flooded through his veins as he remembered the stories she told him, instilling strength deep within his heart. With every ounce of will, he called upon her spirit. "Mom! I know you're still in there. Fight! Come back to me." The shadows recoiled at his hour of defiance, their gnashing, frantic whispers filling the air. The turmoil became palpable, chaos swirling around him as the figure faltered, but was it too late? Did he have what it takes to break the bond? He took a deep breath, steadying himself for the uncertainty ahead. "I will rescue you. I promise." The embodiment of shadows threw its head back, laughing a sound that sent a shiver racing down his spine. "Only time will tell if your love is strong enough, boy." But the price, oh, what a heavy price it will be. His pulse quickened, and with a final surge of resolution, he stepped forward. The choice was clear now. "Mom, together, we can push them back." As light flickered within the shadows, he felt a shift. Was it hope or something more sinister? With bated breath, he grasped for the connection they shared, summoning every ounce of strength. But just as he felt the distance between them closing, a piercing scream shattered the air. "Your choice has been made." And in that instant, the ground beneath him trembled, and the shadows surged back with furious wrath. What would be the true cost of his bravery? All he knew was that the battle was only beginning. Would they win, or would they both be lost in the darkness forever? The ground shook violently, sending slabs of dust and stone into the air. He braced himself against the tremors, adrenaline surging as fragmented pieces of light danced around him. The laughter of the shadowy figure twisted into a grating cacophony, mocking him. "You think love is strong enough? You'll learn the truth soon enough." In the chaos, the boy felt a burning fire ignite within him, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. His heart hammered louder than ever, each beat synchronizing with a desperate rhythm, urging him forward. He reached for his mother again, the remnants of his childhood dreams reaching out like lost spirits. "Mom!" He cried with all the strength he could muster, his voice piercing through the suffocating gloom. "You're stronger than this. Remember the stories you told me? The adventures we went on?" Images flooded his mind, her laughter, her gentle hands combing through his hair, the stories that made monsters seem small. "Escape is impossible," the figure snarled, leaning in closer, its breath cold against his cheek. "You will either join us or be consumed." He shook his head frantically, trying to drown out the voices writhing through the shadows. "I want tea." Just as despair threatened to pull him under, he noticed a flicker near his mother's heart, a feeble light fighting to ignite. "Mom! Fight it!" He shouted, desperation giving him courage. "I believe in you. Remember how you fought for me. Fight for yourself now." For a moment, nothing happened. Silence enveloped him. But then, her body jerked, a flicker of life as her fingers twitched against the floor. "John," she gasped, his heart breaking at the sound of her voice, even if it was faint. "Help me please." He pleaded, his voice a lifeline tethered to her. "Together, we can break free from this darkness." He could feel her spirit stirring, wrestling against the shadows that had taken hold for too long. The shadows hissed and recoiled, their grip faltering as the light continued to flicker within her. "No. You cannot interfere." But John wouldn't surrender. He thought back to the countless times his mother had comforted him, fought off nightmares, and made him believe in the impossible. "You are my mom. You're not losing to them." With each declaration, the ground beneath them trembled more violently. The shadows screeched, their bodies flowing erratically as if struggling to hold their form. "You dare defy us? This is not a fairy tale." But neither was it a nightmare he'd let end without a fight. "Mom! Just hold on." He surged forward, closer to her, grasping for anything he could do. In a surge of inspiration, he closed his eyes and began to remember, the sweet smell of her cooking, the warmth of her embrace, the bedtime stories that filled his heart with determination. "You are bravery. You are hope. The shadows spurred back, their laughter faltering into muffled shrieks. Light poured forth from John as he poured every drop of love he had into his voice. I want to let you go. I love you. With her name hanging in the air, a bright flash blinded him momentarily. When his vision cleared, the shadows were writhing, twisting in rebellion. His mother's form began to glow with a pulsing light as she fought for her release, the darkness pounding against her. John, she whispered, and with that simple utterance, their bond surged like lightning, igniting the room in a blaze of hope and fury. Yet a voice clawed from the depths of the shadows, sinister and low. You think this is victory? There will be consequences. Darkness never forgets. Before he could react, the figure lunged forward, its hand reaching for him, shadowy claws extended. The walls around them warped, bending under pressure. Mom! He screamed, instinctively shielding her. A split second passed, holding the weight of fate, as the darkness coiled to strike. In that moment, could love conquer all? Or would they both be lost in the depths of horror waiting just beyond the shadows? As the figure's hand closed in, the boy's mind screamed, where would their strength lead them? The answers lingered in the air like a whispered secret. But what price would they pay to find out? A piercing chill filled the air as the shadow creature lunged. Time stood still for John as he felt the cold tendrils wrapping around him, dragging him away from the radiant warmth of his mother's light. Panic surged within him, and he fought to breathe. His mind screamed, escape felt like an impossible dream. But then, a jolt of energy coursed through him. It flickered like a candle in a storm. Even with darkness closing in, John dug deeper into his memories. He could see his mother's smile as she read to him at bedtime, the way her eyes danced in the soft glow of the lamp. What I'm fighting for is love, he thought fiercely. It's more powerful than this. Mom! He shouted again, pure desperation surging through his voice. You have to believe. We can't let them win. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if acknowledging the strength of his declaration. He felt the love between them surge, pushing against the cold darkness like a shield. Fight, Mom. You're a warrior. Remember. The ground shook in response to his determination. Her form flickered, the pulsating light around her brightening and swelling. John, her voice pierced through the chaos, stronger this time. I'll try. Just hold on. The creature snarled, its face a twisted mask of rage. You think you can save her? You are only feeding my power. But John pressed against it, pushing back with everything he had. You are nothing. He screamed back at the beast. You are just shadows, and we're made of light. The dark figure hesitated, and he seized the moment. He flooded the space between them with waves of his memories, laughter shared over dinner, the warmth of a hug after a long day, the reassuring presence she provided. Each moment was a thread, weaving a tapestry of hope around them. With each recollection, the figure's south claws froze in place. It recoiled, howling in desperation as if struck by a sledgehammer. No. Stop. It shrieked, gripping its head in agony. And suddenly, the shadows began to splinter. Brilliant shards of light surged from John, intertwining with the glow emanating from his mother. Together they created a brilliant explosion, a beacon piercing through the thick gloom. Mom! Together! He urged, feeling the bond strengthen. She reached out, grasping for the light that enveloped John like a guardian angel, igniting the air around them in a dazzling flash. Yet, amid the illumination, darkness still clawed the edges of the room, voracious for the light they had summoned. You think you've won? The figure's voice echoed, now laced with fear. This is just the beginning. I will come for you both. The earth trembled beneath them, cracks splitting the ground as shadows poured from the walls, slithering like snakes with jagged teeth. This can't be it, he thought, racing against the rising tide. I won't lose you, Mom. The light surged again, blindingly bright, illuminating a path through the chaos. But John felt a hollow tug of dread as he realized the shadows were circling, waiting for an opportunity. "Trust me," he shouted, glancing at his mother's face reflecting pure determination. "We're getting out of here." As they united their strength, the enormity of the fight weighed heavily upon John, each second a testament to their struggle. "Love can vanquish fear," he exhaled. But as the shadows clawed closer, the truth loomed over them. What sacrifice would they have to make to escape this nightmare? And was victory worth the cost of their very lives? He could feel the shadows tightening, suffocating as they lunged for the last gleam of light. With a final push, they surged into the unknown. But would they step into safety or an even darker abyss? Only the shadows had the answer. A sudden rush of wind whipped around them, the force of it pulling at John's clothes and hair. The brilliance of their light flickered but held. The shadows shivered, unsure how to tackle this emerging unity of love. Suddenly, they burst forth from the ground and walls, like long-buried secrets seeking their time to terrorize. "Keep pushing," he yelled, his heart pounding fiercely against his chest. He could feel panic creeping in, a gut-wrenching sensation that if they stopped, they would be swallowed whole by the darkness. Every time he thought they were free, another shadow lunged to grasp at them, desperate to extinguish the brightly burning light. "Mom, feel me!" John shouted, clasping his hands tighter around her wrist. "You're not alone. We're stronger together." Every heartbeat echoed with uncertainty, but she returned his grip, her face etched with determination. "Together," she repeated, her voice wrapping around him like a reassuring embrace. They focused on their memories, their backyard barbecues, singing songs in the car, the shared laughter echoing through the years. Each recollection served as a lifeline, a weapon against the encroaching dark, but the shadows weren't just growing, they were changing. As they writhed and undulated, faces began to emerge, twisted visages of fear and loss. They weren't just shadows, they were fragments of despair, pieces of those who had surrendered to the darkness. "No!" John gasped, the realization clawing at his heart. "These are people lost." "Look away, John," his mother commanded, but he couldn't. The sight of pained souls twisted in anguish ignited an indignant anger in him. He couldn't stand by and watch. With a newfound fervor, he shouted, "I want to let this happen. You think you can take them? You think fear makes you strong? It only makes you weak." His words reverberated through the void, and a crack formed in the shadows. He envisioned each lost soul, felt the pang of despair they carried, and channeled their stories into his voice. "You can fight back. You can be more than this." They began to flicker, some gaining color, their forms momentarily releasing the grip of shadows as John's light reached out like a protective embrace. But just as hope surged, the beast known as the shadow creature twisted in rage. "You will pay for this. I will feast on your fear." The ground quaked violently beneath them. A fissure opened wide, threatening to swallow them whole. With every ounce of strength, John held on to his mother, even as the shadows lashed out like a stormy sea, crashing against their resolve. Desperation soared as he faced the darkness head-on. "Mom, we have to believe. We have to show them that we are light." The air vibrated with energy, and they doubled down on their memories, the warmth of home, cherished moments of kindness, with every instant transforming them into a shield. But the shadows were relentless. With a final scream, the creature lunged toward John and his mother, its talons stretching, desperate to reclaim its lost power. "No!" John blared, the sound a raw plea from the depths of his soul. And as they stood on the precarious edge, the shadows lunged, ready to engulf and swirl them into oblivion. In that heartbeat of time, John sensed something deeper, an elusive truth whispering at the corners of his consciousness. What if they could not only fight the creature but change its heart? Would they dare to confront not just a monster, but the very essence of darkness itself? The answer lay just beyond their light, waiting to be discovered. The darkness swelled, howling in its torment as John and his mother stood their ground, hearts thundering in unison. He felt the shadows tightening, pulling at him like a hungry beast. Memories coursed through his veins, laughter shared in the kitchen, gentle hugs that shielded him from fear. This was not just a fight for survival, it was a battle for love. Mom! Remember all those bedtime stories? The heroes always found a way. He shouted, his voice resonating above the clamor of despair. The shadows shivered at his words, faltering momentarily, as if unsure of their dominance. You think you can win with silly tales? The creature bellowed, its voice a crash of rage and disbelief. Nothing can change what has already been claimed. John squeezed his eyes shut, remembering the warmth of his mother's embrace, her unwavering belief in him. Stop fighting. You're still in there, Mom. Fight with me. For a heartbeat, silence enveloped them, heavy and thick with dread. But then the flicker returned, brightening as his mother's eyes glimmered with a spark of recognition. She gasped, her body shaking as if awaking from a long slumber. I remember. I will fight. With renewed determination, John tightened his grip on her hand. Together. He shouted, unleashing the memory of their love like a flaming arrow toward the shadows. The light around them surged, illuminating the room. The very shadows recoiled, howling in anguish as John's fierce willpower ignited something within the darkness, unraveling its sinister hold. We are stronger together. He cried, each word punctured by the shadow's agonized wails. The figure shrieked, twisting as the walls trembled. You cannot defy me. It shrieked, thrashing as spectral figures emerged from the dark, desperate for release. They rose up, their faces filled with sorrow, reflecting the lost souls trapped within. No. John felt a surge of anguish at the sight. We can free you. He faced the haunted faces, his voice echoing with conviction. You are not just shadows, you are memories, lost in darkness. We have the light to break you free. Their frozen forms flickered, hopeful energy pulsing through the room. Believe. John urged. You can join us in the light. With every proclamation, the tendrils of shadows recoiled, fracturing under the weight of courage. Those lost souls began to flicker, reaching out with hands that slowly peeled away the layers of despair. I won't give up on you. John shouted, feeling the warmth of hope invigorate him. The darkness shrieked in agony, clawing wildly for John's fading light. Foolish child. You will regret this. But John could feel it slipping. Not today. He yelled, heart racing faster than ever. Together, we are unstoppable. Suddenly, a wave crashed through the shadows, igniting the entire room in liquid light. His mother surged forward, empowered, and they both collided with the darkness, a unified front fueled by every cherished memory shared, and there was a moment of pure brilliance, like fireworks lighting up the sky. For a fleeting heartbeat, everything hung suspended in time, the shadows shattered like glass, dispersing with a roar that echoed through the mansion. As the explosion of light enveloped them, John felt something relinquish its hold. The lingering shadows clawed at the edges, shrieking in terror as the warmth of hope diminished their strength. Beside him, his mother glowed, a radiant figure of strength. John! She called, her voice echoing with power. We did it. We're free. The room transformed before their eyes, walls re-emerging in their once splendor, the shadows dissolving into nothingness like steam fading into the air. They stood amid remnants of the struggle, breathing in the sweet scent of freedom and life. John turned to look at his mother, tears of relief spilling over his cheeks, shining with a grace he had never seen in her before. I thought I lost you. I thought, oh, baby, I was with you all along, she said, pulling him close. You brought me back. But just as they reveled in their triumph, a soft whisper slithered through the air. Chilling and deliberate. You think this is over? The darkness taunted, its voice echoing through the corners. John felt a shiver run down his spine. You will never be free, boy. The darkness is patient, and it remembers. John pressed closer to his mother, determination igniting in his chest. We will always fight. Love conquers all. His mother nodded, her gaze fierce and unwavering. Together, they looked into the remnants of the fading shadows, resolute. "We will be ready," they vowed. As the mansion filled with radiant light, John squeezed his mother's hand, knowing in his heart they would fight until the last vestige of darkness was eliminated. Together, always, remember this moment, he thought. Love is a shield, and they would never let it falter. A new dawn broke outside, signaling not just the end of a night's terror, but a promise of hope, resilience, and the unyielding bond of family. As they stepped out into the sunlit morning, they felt the weight of the world lift, thankful for the love that held them steadfast. Now, it's your turn as a listener, dear friends. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and move you. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and share this journey with more dreamers, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Your voices matter, and we want to hear what you think, but don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Thank you for joining us on this wild ride. Keep the light alive.